Hey guys, welcome back to SagieCenter. I'm Osagi with another episode this week. This week we have a lot to talk about, mainly in the NBA. Playoff time is coming. We have a lot going on with the Brooklyn Nets. The return of Anthony Davis and actually LeBron James is coming up soon. Talking about some injuries that's been going on in the West. Jamal Murray going out. That's big for Denver, but it's also could be a plus for Jokic when it comes to MVP voting. Just a lot going on, especially again with a lot going on in the state of our country. So we're going to jump right into it with our first segment. I'm going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers, just the state of the two favorites in my opinion for the NBA championship, and then just also talk about just what's going on with both teams and what we should be expecting. So we're going to go to that right away. Brooklyn Nets. They just actually got Kevin Durant, I believe, last week, back from injury. Kevin Durant missed over 20 games with the hamstring injury. They said it was something that had to do with just trying to make sure that his hamstring was tight because they're very tricky, and especially him coming off the Achilles. So they got KD back. He still doesn't play back-to-backs. Of course, Kyrie's been there when Kyrie wants to be there. Kyrie's dealing with a lot of things going on right now. Especially in the world, which we'll talk about that in my last segment. Harden is actually out too with a hamstring, so they still have not been fully healthy. My pick to still come out the East is the Brooklyn Nets, even though they have LaMarcus Aldridge, who retired because of his heart condition. I definitely want to give him a shout out. Hope he feels better. That was a difficult decision, but I understand it. You gotta do what's best for you and your family. But for the Brooklyn Nets, I still think they'll come out the East. I still see them as the favorites. They played Philly with Kyrie, who didn't even play in the fourth quarter. They were down by like close to 20, and their team, their backups, brought them back within 3. So Philly won the game, but it really opened my eyes. So they have a KD that game. I still think they'll win the East. I just want to see KD, Kyrie, and Harden play about 10 games at least. Before the end of the season is over together, just to get that cohesiveness together. One thing, even though they are champions, you have two of the 3 of them that are champions. We do want to bring up the Clippers situation that happened last year, where if you're not playing as many games together, now when you get to playoffs and stuff, good coaching, you're going to fall into trouble. Talent is just not going to always take you there. So I still think Brooklyn comes out the East, but I would love Harden to come back, let them play 10 to 15 games. They actually were playing the Miami Heat today, which should be a very good game. Really believe in Brooklyn. I just think they have too much offensive firepower. A lot of people talk about their defense, but I think when they really want to play defense, they do it. I've seen them in key periods. Like they could be down 16 going into the fourth. I blink my eyes. Brooklyn's up by like 3. That offense is like legit crazy. Like Kyrie's having one of the best seasons of his career, of course, because he's playing with 2 other All-Stars who can score when they need to. With him not having, he's just really just used as a scorer. Kyrie is very skillful and everything, but I think he's being used in his best position. Kevin Durant, I always say this, you can plug Kevin Durant in any team in NBA history. That team just gets better. He doesn't require much with the ball. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's so efficient and you can plug him anywhere. And then Harden. Harden is the key factor for me. Personally, a lot of people still think that he is possibly an MVP of the season. I think that he's been doing really well. He should be well deserving of being in that conversation. I just think when you play with 3 other All-Stars, it's hard to give it to you. 2 other All-Stars, it's hard to give it to you. But Harden is my biggest key because if he can run this team and keep them at a certain pace, the way he's been doing when he plays, I don't think there's anybody beating Brooklyn, and that's including the Los Angeles Lakers. Even though the Lakers beat Brooklyn last week, with KD played a little bit, he was on a minute restriction. Kyrie was ejected in the third quarter, so how much did he really play? Not really too much. So we have it there. So I really don't think too much more of any other teams competing with them in the East. I think, of course, you got Philly. Philly can really give them a run for their money just because they have Joel Embiid. But I think when it all comes down to Ben Simmons not being able to shoot, it's going to be a factor where they're just going to isolate him. I would double my man off of Ben Simmons' man each time and double Joel. Make Ben Simmons shoot threes and shoot jumpers. Cutting lane and all that's not going to cut it. He needs to shoot jumpers. He right now, I think Ben Simmons is averaging, for the last 3 years, he started off at like 13, 14 attempts, field goal attempts per game. Last year was about like 12. This year he's just a little bit over 10, close to 11. That's not going to get done in the playoffs. He needs to get more touches and more scoring. Of course, they have their shooters, but again, I just don't think they have enough to beat Brooklyn when it comes to firepower. Now switching gears to the West. As we all know, the Los Angeles Lakers are expecting Anthony Davis back any day now. He's actually started taking contact. They said LeBron's about a week and a half away, maybe 2 weeks at most. And their team has played well to keep them afloat. They're right now set at the 5th seed, which they will be playing Denver if they were. The playoffs will start today. Now, what makes that interesting is Denver does not have Jamal Murray anymore for the season. Probably won't have Jamal Murray until some point at this point next year, which possibly the playoffs next year too. If we think about it, this is really supposed to be a playoffs time. But they're still playing into April, going into May. It's not going to be like that next year. I love the way Denver was playing prior to Jamal Murray getting hurt, and they're still on a winning streak. I just don't think they have enough. I think you're going to see a lot out of Michael Porter Jr. stepping up and stuff, but depending on that first round matchup, if it's the Lakers, it was already going to be tough to beat them when Anthony Davis and AD comes with Jamal Murray. I don't think it's happening when they both come back. And then you have Drummond with the Lakers right now. He's been making a little difference. I think he had his best game yesterday, which was Saturday. They played, I believe, the Lakers. The Lakers played which team? They played the Jazz, and the Jazz didn't even have any of their players. Donovan Mitchell was just hurt his ankle on Friday, so Drummond had a good game. I think one thing I've been telling people is, please name me a time when LeBron played well with a big man which cannot shoot or space the floor. He doesn't do well with that. So I don't think, and I saw it yesterday, they don't even end the game with Drummond in the fourth quarter when it's key, on both ends, defense and offense. They were not ending the game with him. They weren't smaller. So you're still not going to have Drummond in at like key plays. Yes, he's going to grab you a lot of offensive rebounds, second chance points, which would be good, but I think he clogs up the lane. It's going to hurt LeBron. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to play together, because LeBron, again, does not play well with big men who do not spread the floor. Just go back into his history. He just does not play well with them. But people think that Drummond is such a huge difference. I already thought the Lakers could come out the West just with LeBron and AD, especially now with you got some injuries. I still think they'll come out the West. I think that we will possibly see some type of Clippers-Lakers matchup at some point in the playoffs, either going to be in the semifinals or in the conference finals. I think it's going to be a great matchup. But again, I still have the Lakers. If there was a second team I will pick, it's either going to be the Jazz or the Clippers. Before the Jamal Murray got hurt, I was actually on the board of saying Denver can beat the Lakers, no matter what round it is. But I just don't think they have enough. The Jamal Murray thing really, really hurts them. So I still think the Lakers come back. I think AD, again, will be back some point this week. LeBron in a week or so. So we got to see how that. They don't have that much time to really get things going. They got to boom, boom, boom. Get in there and dominate. I think they want to improve their seeding a little bit. Definitely don't want to drop Lord in the 5th seed. You may want to try to get some home court advantage. I think getting to the Jazz or even or Phoenix is probably out of their zone. They could possibly catch the Clippers, which will help them in their way. If they get to 4, it helps them out because that means the Clippers and them don't have to meet up until the conference finals. But so I really believe in the Lakers. There's a team which I'm going to talk about next with the Phoenix Suns, which everybody's been sleeping on. I'm going to talk about sleeper teams which can make really, really big noise in the playoffs, but why they may not. And I'll go through each of my sleeper teams or the next tier of contenders, and then we'll go from there. Yes, let's talk more NBA. In this segment, we're going to talk about the MVP, sleeper teams, just what to expect more in the last few weeks of the NBA season. So I'm going to start off with my sleeper teams. Not even sleeper teams, just teams that are going to make noise in the playoffs, which if you're a playoff contender or, favorite like, the Lakers, the Nets, Philly, these are the teams you do not want to meet in your conference? I'm going to start off with the Eastern Conference. I know they have had a lot of injuries and been very inconsistent, but they are starting to come up. The Miami Heat. Again, I'm going to say it again. The Miami Heat. Even though Victor's injuries off and on, I really think they're a team you still cannot sleep on. Only thing about the Heat is I think that they were very, very beneficial about the bubble last year with no fans, but now you're having fans back and the travel. Now you're going to have travel. I think that's going to be a factor for them, but they're still going to be a tough out. I still think, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks. You still have Giannis there. I see the way they try to change their offense up. They're shooting more threes, but I just do not think they have enough to even. They may make. I won't be surprised if. I actually would not be surprised if the Bucks beat Philly if they meet up prior to, but I don't think they'll even meet up prior to because I think the Bucks, the way it's set up, will meet the Nets because the Sixers are still one game above the Nets. So I just don't think Milwaukee can beat the Nets, but they have possibility of beating Philly because they've done it before. Those are my two teams in the East. Of course, you have some, Boston's playing better now, but I just have not been a believer in Boston this year. I just don't believe in them. I believe in my two young guys who are amazing talents in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but the other guys, the coaching, I think that you need a new fresh air. But the Hawks have been playing very better this year. The Knicks. I think one thing people have to understand: the East playoffs are not going to be as bad as we make them seem now. I really think we're going to get great matchups, and it may even be more competitive than the West at some points. Now switching to the West, of course, I think I have the Lakers and the Clippers and more of my favorites, but the Phoenix Suns are going to be a very tough out. They're definitely getting out the first round. And right now, the way it's set up is Phoenix will play the winner of Dallas and Golden State. Because Golden State is at the... No, I take that back. It will be Dallas. Dallas and I think the Spurs. The Spurs will match up in the play-in. And then you have Golden State who will match up with... who will match up with Memphis. I think Memphis is in some trouble if they play Golden State. But one thing about Memphis, they do not have Jaren Jackson back yet. So that's something to keep an eye out. He should be coming back sometime before the regular season is over. But I think you're going to have great matchups. But Phoenix Suns, whoever gets them in the first round, I hope Portland or Dallas doesn't have to drop down there because those Suns can play. But I think that the one thing that's going to hurt the Suns this year is youth, just maturity. In certain key plays in the playoffs, I think that's where you're going to really see it. But Chris Paul is going to really help them to at least get to a certain point. I just don't think that when you start getting to the second round, where you have to play either a team like the Lakers, the Clippers, Utah, that's where I think it's a little bit tough. It gets a little tough for those young guys. But I really believe in Devin Booker. I think he's going to have a show of a playoffs. Please be on the lookout. I believe Devin Booker will drop a few 40-point games in the playoffs. Maybe even give us a 50-point game this playoffs. Devin Booker is a bucket. He's one of my favorite players right now. I love him. I definitely got to give a shout out to Chris Paul, what he has done for that team. I think we have to give Chris Paul respect. Even though he gets hurt in key moments in the playoffs sometimes, but I don't think that you can not say Chris Paul's the top 5 point guard all the time and just his impact in winning that he brings. So I definitely think the Suns can make some noise. The other team in the West is the Portland Trailblazers. If there's a team I think can knock off, I don't think the Lakers, but can maybe knock off the Clippers to make it to the conference finals, is the Portland Trailblazers. They got a lot right now. Damian Lillard's played out of his mind. CJ is doing well. Carmelo's really, really contribute off the bench. So I think their main thing is just health. Jokic gets hurt quite a bit. I think they just need that front line help a little bit. But I think if Damian Lillard gets hot and you can't stop him just like the way you can't stop Steph, I really, really think Portland will be a very tough out. To shift gears now to MVP. I'll go ahead and start with my top 5 list right now for MVP. Number 1, I think, is Jokic for me for Denver. Number 2, I will put Damian Lillard / Joel Embiid. And the only reason why I've not put Joel at number one because he still has some games he's coming back from. But since he's been back, he's been averaging, like they said, almost 35, 11, shooting over 50%, from three, close to 40%. So I think he is trying to make that push, and I think that if you see these numbers and he plays a little bit more games, he doesn't miss more than maybe 5 more games this season, and they're still at that number 1 seed in the East, I think Joel should get MVP. I'll be the first center to get MVP since Shaquille O'Neal, which is big. So I really have him and Damon number 2, but he's a close first to me. Just getting up there with Jokic. Of course, I gotta put in Chris Paul in there somehow. He's been doing very well. Some people have Kawhi Leonard. Not really too big of him. Now you know I think 4 or 5. You still have to put Harden in there. Just Harden and LeBron. I think you still have to put them in there, even though of injury. What they've done this year, it's amazing. So I'll put Harden and LeBron to round up my MVP. So I saw Jokic with Joel being a close, going into that close first, tied up with Damian, followed by Harden and LeBron to finish them off. So it's going to be a great finish for NBA season. We have like a few more weeks left. I'm really excited. It's like a kid. I'm a kid in the candy store. It's crazy because I think if they get to like a game 6 or something in the finals, it may be on my wedding day. I wonder how my fiance would feel about me having to check in on the NBA finals, especially if it was game 7. I wonder how she may feel, but I'm still gonna enjoy my day. But this is gonna be great basketball ahead. I think the postseason, the play-in tournament is gonna be very, very key. I think we've been hearing a lot of people talk about the play-in tournament. It's funny because Mark Cuban voted for the play-in tournament, but then he commented this week talking about it's stupid. It's a bad idea, but he's just mad because his team has to play. And I like what the NBA is doing. They're making these last few games, which a lot of teams, they rest. You can't rest because if you're like a 6th or 5th seed and you're only like a game above, a game or a game and a half above the 7th seed, you got to play your players because you don't want to play in that play-in tournament. And if you're 7, you're trying to get up to 6. So everything matters right now that's going on in the NBA. So, I'm really excited about what's going to happen, what we have expected. So, it's going to be a nice playoffs. Again, my 2 picks, I'm going to go with the conference finals right now. I also picked the conference finals of each conference. Right now, I will go Philly versus Brooklyn in the conference finals in the East. I think Brooklyn wins in 5 to 6 games. In the West, if I was to pick a matchup right now to go to the finals, the way it's structured is Utah will possibly meet the Lakers in the second round, while the Clippers will play Phoenix in the second round if it stays like this. So I will keep my hope just like last year. I think we're gonna get an all LA conference finals, but I will guarantee you we will get an LA series. Either gonna be the second or the conference finals this year. So either or. But I think those are my picks, of course, with the Lakers. Until you beat LeBron, I don't think there's anything to say about it. I think the Lakers go to the finals. So Lakers versus Brooklyn. You know where I'm going. I'm going Brooklyn at 6, man. I'm giving them 6 games because I'm going to give LeBron and AD 2 games. LeBron by himself, I'm going to give him a game. Not the fact that he has AD. So they're going 6, at least 6 for me in the finals. But I have Brooklyn in 6 in the conference final. The NBA finals, winning the NBA finals. With the final MVP goes to Kyrie Irving. That's a surprise. I know Chris Will is probably surprised I'm saying that. Kyrie Irving will be the finals MVP if the Lakers and Brooklyn meet up. I just think that he has an advantage versus LeBron. It doesn't mean he'll be the best player on that court. I just think that he has the easiest job to do when it comes to scoring, and I think that's what he's going to do, score. I think Kevin Durant's also in the mix. I don't think James Harden may win the finals MVP, but I really think it's either going to be Kyrie or KD, but I think it's going to be Kyrie. So, this Sagie take, the last take, it's a take that we all know too familiar. I think we all mainly see what happened in Minnesota last week. I've not personally seen the video. Will not personally see the video because my heart cannot take it. But it's another unfortunate situation. Another black man, unarmed black man that's shot, killed by the police, by a woman cop that's been on the force for 26 years. Also, their police union president. She thought she was reaching for her taser, which she never had that day, and shot the man. Didn't need to shoot him or anything. And people always ask, why do police use force? The only one reason why the police use force when they want to use force is because of this. Because of your skin color. You're black. There was also a few massive shootings this week. It's so crazy how you can have massive shootings. These massive shooters who are predominantly white walk away with their lives and don't even get a thought of being shot at. But you have police continuing to shoot at unarmed black people. There's something going on. I know there's something going on in the country, but there's definitely something going on in Minnesota because this is like the third or fourth accident or something like that. Of course, we all know the trial going on with George Floyd. We had Castile happen a few years ago. So something's going on with their police, and a lot of these unions, like Minnesota, are pushing back because they know who the bad apples are. I'm tired of hearing there's only a few bad apples in there. No, I watched something this week on actually Instagram, and I watched a video of a lady talk about it's not about a bad apple, it's about a bad root, a bad foundation. The police unions, the police system, the way police is being policed out here, it's a bad root, bad foundation. You need to break that down and you need to redo it. I am tired of just because of what I have here, I'm being judged like that's a bigger fear than a gun. When these are the people that have the guns. They have all the force. It needs to change. And I don't get mad at people being angry because I'm angry myself. I have a young daughter. I have 3 nephews who are all going to be growing up in this country black. How can we change this? It really starts with these police unions being willing to not look at it like you're trying to take away people's jobs. No, we're trying to make things better. The training needs to be better. I think there needs to be a psych test, and it needs to include racial. Because you're not serving just white people, police officers. I think that's what a lot of people be thinking. No, America is a lot of nations in here. So you need to know how to work with different people. And not to just because you think they're aggressive or they're an aggressive kind, you think you have to use force. I'm going to say this bluntly. White people are the most aggressive people actually with force actually. When you want to talk about, if you want to talk about aggressiveness or being scared, it's your kind. Not blacks, not Hispanics, not Indians, not Chinese. It's the white people. It's been like that since the beginning of time. What you did, you took somebody's land. You took the Native American land. You went to Africa, you took slaves. Because what you had the force. So every other culture has learned about force or aggressive has come from white people. So this needs to stop. The police system needs to change. I'm calling for a change. I'm going to continue to call for a change using my platform. I hate to end my episode like this, but things have to change. A lot of people are tired, mentally drained from these shootings. With everything going on top of that, we have COVID. So I'm just asking for a change. I had to point that out there. Definitely want to give a shout out to Minnesota Wolves and also Kyrie Irving. He's been really big on it, even though I may not agree with Kyrie on a lot of things. He's been big on this social justice. So definitely want to give him a shout out. Just continue to make a better way for us people. Definitely want to end it off like that. I want you guys to definitely enjoy the SagieCenter episode. We were going to have more. My next episode is going to be a special guest. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let him introduce himself during the episode. Thank you guys again for joining the SagieCenter. Please tune in to the podcast. Follow me on my IG page, SagieCenter 2.0. Follow the YouTube page. You can find me at all types of podcast platforms as well. Please subscribe. That's the only way we continue to improve this, get more things going. So, again, thank you guys for joining me. I am Osagi. This is SagieCenter, and I'm out.